Okay, so this YouTube live thing, which is kind of cool. Gotta admit, I don't think I have any followers yet, but yeah, I basically wanted to get on here first to test it out, see how it works. Second, I feel like I can probably add some value here and talk a little bit about SEO. Um, if you are aware of like what I've done here in the Houston marketing landscape, I've actually outranked every other agency for terms like SEO Houston and Houston SEO with my personal website that doesn't even mention SEO in it. And I've got a few ideas and concepts and things that I've proven in the past that I like to share with you just because this isn't about necessarily, being number one or being the best. SEO is really more about just sharing the knowledge that you have and helping other people improve their businesses. And I think that it's important to share that knowledge, not to try to keep it secret and say you've got some secret sauce that just no one else deserves to know. It's not proprietary. It's stuff out there. I will say this: the number one reason, attribute I had, the number one thing I did that I'm not sure if everyone else did or whatever, but was I worked really hard day and night um, to make sure that my rankings kept improving. I didn't have all the answers right off the bat. There was no magical formula or thing I did to just make it that much better. Really, what I did was I just was smart with my time, my actions, and I spent a lot of time working on it. And I think that's really the answer for a lot of things. Some people just aren't willing to put in the work. You'll talk to a lot of agencies out there and they'll say, we're really good at this stuff, but we just don't have time to do it for ourselves. Well, I don't believe that. You have time if you make time for it. You know, there's a lot more to it than that. So let's start with number one. SEO is just as good as the goal you set. So if you don't have a goal in mind, which should be time specific, you need to set out for, you're going to do, you want to rank for, you know, uh, a laundromat near me, and you want to rank for that in 3 months. Let's call it that. Well, let's go over the basics. First of all, hopefully you have a website because you've got a lot more in 3 months ahead of you. If you don't, number two, um, what is your website hosted on? Like, what kind of platform are you working with? That's important. I mean, it doesn't have to be WordPress. And a lot of agencies will try to tell you you should be on WordPress, but quite frankly, you don't have to be on WordPress. I don't care if you're on Wix or if you're on Squarespace. There are a lot of things you can do on there, especially now, to have more control over your code and be able to implement the things that you're needing to implement. But at the end of the day, if you really want to rank and you want to become better or improve your rankings and reach that goal, the most important thing to do is make sure you have the right foundation. That means technical SEO. There are tons of checklists out there too. I mean, just go through a checklist and the things you don't know how to do, hire a developer to do it for you. Second part is make sure that your website has the proper structure. Think about your structure of your website like the way you organize your folders. You don't put a sub page into, some irrelevant folder that has nothing to do with it. So if you have a documents folder and then you throw in a bunch of movies into the documents folder, it doesn't make sense because you have a movies folder. Why aren't you putting it in there? So there's a lot of logical structure to the way that Google crawls it. And the thing is, what really scares Google, right? And where they get kind of like they back off a little bit and they don't really continue crawling your site is when you put something that doesn't make sense in the wrong area. And that's something that you need to just think through. You want to plan your website out well, and that's important. Another part I would say probably my third point is if you're going to do this, make sure you do the keyword research right. Your keyword research should really just be focused on developing um, personas from the keywords that you're trying to rank for. If you look at personas and you segment your keywords out, you figure out exactly what people need to be searching for, what they want to search for, you'll realize that honestly, there's a type of person that searches a keyword a certain way. That's important, especially down the road on the campaign, because if you've been optimizing for the wrong keyword for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you're going to feel like you wasted a lot of time, and that shouldn't be the goal. What you want to do is think about how your audience searches. So if I'm going after engineers, for instance, let's just talk B2B here. Let's say I'm going for engineers and I know that these guys base all their decisions on ASTM parameters, right? The testing standards. But I know that the general foreman that's going to buy doesn't really pay attention to that stuff as much. He just searches things based on what they are. He'll just say 3-inch nickel moly pipe. Okay, so you've got two ways of searching this. Now, there are a lot of questions that arise from that. Do you need to build more ASTM standards into the page? Probably. Do you need them to be two different pages to cater to different audiences? At this point, probably not. But, you know, you got to think about the important factors that are on the page, and then you have to think about your user experience to make sure that you are catering to both audiences. So there is a lot of brand strategy that can be implemented in the process of doing this, and you can make it align with your marketing strategy very well as long as the person that's doing the SEO understands the message. So that's actually the difference between hiring somebody out in maybe India or something, or overseas, versus finding someone that's close and that understands marketing, because SEO is a tactic. It's part of your strategy. It's not the strategy. Let me make that clear. SEO is not the strategy. It is a tactic you use in your strategy. And that tactic can have its own strategy in a sense, but it's not going to be the end all be all. It's something that needs to be worked out. It's better to hire an agency because you usually need more than one person to figure this stuff out for you. It's very difficult to implement an SEO plan by yourself, especially if you have 101 other things to do. But if you hire a qualified agency and you're willing to invest in that, then I think that you're not making a bad investment. I think that you're working more toward the goal. Sometimes people go through 3, 4 agencies before they actually reach the goal they're looking for. Sometimes they could have reached it sooner if they would have stuck with the same agency. I mean, it's just the way it is. Sometimes you just make bad decisions and you don't vet the agencies you hire. And I've worked with a lot of people that have, they feel like they've been burned, and all I can say is some of them have. There are a lot of like scammers and people out there that are just trying to make a quick buck. They don't really care about the person. But I will say this, there are a lot of guys out there, including myself, who very much care about the business. They very much care about how people's businesses are going and what direction they're going in. I care about my clients' revenue. I care about that. And I think that a lot of other SEO guys, they care about it too. Um, we don't always get it right the first time. That's okay. Sometimes you end up finding yourself in a situation where um, you have to optimize more, you have to go a different direction. So when you run into that situation, let's say 3 months down the line, and I know I'm kind of going off a tangent, but I think it's important. If I'm 3 months down the line and I have a client that's like, and I realize all of a sudden, man, I'm going to have to go completely different direction in that strategy. I think that maybe I'm going the wrong way. What do I do? Well, quite frankly, 3 months into it, I'm going to tell the client, maybe just tell them that, hey, look, um, this is a process. This is something that, we made improvements here, here, and here. I would definitely look at the positives, but I would also look at the areas where it could have been different. It's okay to like go to a client and say, hey, this is where I acknowledge I could have done better. I could have thought this more through. But that doesn't mean that, um, they're going to fire you because of that. I think there are a lot of clients that appreciate that. They're just business owners and they're trying to figure out solutions as well, and they understand what you're trying to do too. So, anyway, I think that this is a pretty cool platform. I really love it. So, anyway, it is what it is. You guys have a great night. I just did my first YouTube live video. Boom. How's that?